Oddities. Welcome back to another episode of Midnight Curiosities. I'm Curator Raquel.
And I'm Curator Warbeauty.
Coming at you live from the astral plane.
Whoa.
Yeah. I haven't been here much.
Really?
Lots of exploring to do. Yeah.
You know, that's, it's interesting you say exploring, and you're going to roll your eyes as soon as I say this, but we recently have been playing a lot of that game, Valheim.
I know that you've been playing a lot of it.
So much
I've been playing it too.
So much of that game, Valheim. And
I got peer pressured into buying it.
It's a fun game, so
Okay.
I don't feel bad for peer pressuring you. But we play with like 4 or 5 other people.
Yeah.
And because I can't do math, so I don't want to count how many there actually are, but it's roughly 4 or 5 others.
Okay, sure.
And it's been pretty fun. So for those who don't know, I'm going to sell you the game here for a second.
This episode's sponsored by Valheim.
I wish. No, so this isn't a sponsored episode. This is a really fun game. So I'm into games that are like, well, I'm a big World of Warcraft player.
You're into games that are fun?
I am. Games that are so fun. No, I'm into like minimal brain power games.
Yeah, I'm into that.
So I hope that if anyone listens and is like, oh man, Valheim, it's not, this isn't like a crazy strategy game. So
it's not.
I'm not engaging my like higher cortex functions. That's not a real thing, but I'm not engaging my like medulla oblongata.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's more just...
You're engaging your caveman brain.
It's caveman brain, yeah. And it's really fun because you basically get to like... It's everyone's dream.
To chop down trees.
And city plan.
City plan?
We're currently building a highway.
Yeah, I know.
It's pretty lit. I never thought being in infrastructure management would be so great.
But there is something to that because there is a lot of games with that basic format.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So there must be something someone likes about it.
That caveman brain loves.
Build settlement.
Build settlement and infrastructure. Love it. Bring order to the island.
Right.
But, you said there's a lot of space to explore, and that's what brought it up is because in Valheim, there's just all of this space to explore and build highways on.
Sure.
Which I'm currently doing.
I am incredibly bad at Valheim. I'm very good at dying repeatedly.
Okay, so in Valheim, you have to craft everything. You're basically naked and afraid when you first spawn in.
Sure.
So Curator Raquel spawns in, names herself Ralph. Ralph is a mostly naked bearded warrior himbo.
I play himbos exclusively in every game I play.
It's just this himbo. And she spawns in, and it's a game it's a supernatural game.
Sure.
So that's what I'm talking about. It's because, hey, we're kind of a supernatural podcast.
Sure.
It's a supernatural game.
You can make that leap.
It is, and you have to kill. So it's based off the premise that you get sent to the 10th world that Odin created for all of his rejects. Mm-hmm. So Valheim.
That's why Ralph is there.
Right. Valheim is in Norse mythology. There are 9 worlds. Mm-hmm. So Valheim's lore is that it's the 10th.
Okay.
And it's kind of getting a little unruly. So the Valkyries kill you in battle, basically. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but in Norse mythos, if you don't die accidentally, you get picked.
Yeah, you get murdered by your gods.
Right, your gods pick you to die. So you get killed by Valkyries, essentially. Odin and the Valkyries decide you need to die because you got to handle this in Valheim.
Right.
So you get murdered and slain to get dropped off in this desert, this weird 10th world.
Uh-huh. Naked and afraid.
Naked and afraid, and you have to build from nothing. And there's a bunch of rune stones that tell you, hey, it's dangerous here. And you're like, thanks, I got that.
Yeah, I figured that part out.
Right, as you're screaming frantically, running away from trolls.
Or dying repeatedly.
Because you didn't run away fast enough from the Grey Dwarfs.
Right.
So that's pretty much where we're at.
Yeah.
But so Ralph, the himbo, naked and afraid, running through the woods with nothing. Quite literally nothing.
Yeah.
The rest of us have this troll hide armor, but
everyone has armor, everyone has weapons, everyone has something to protect themselves.
Ralph has a stone axe, a level 1 stone
axe.
Sometimes. If Ralph doesn't throw it. Ralph, was it you kept throwing your spear?
No!
It was your axe?
That was one of our friends. He kept dropping his spear, and I kept picking it up and killing the monster with it. It was great.
So, there you go. There's a little bit of a Norse mythos tidbit. So,
And a little bit into our personal lives.
our personal lives. Look, we're Norse religiously, and we obviously worship the Nordic deities.
And we love
Odin,
himbos.
Freya. We love himbos.
Love them.
We're a big fan of himbos.
Yeah, for real.
And we're losers because we play video games.
We are so ready to dive into any other realm of existence.
And we escape with fantasy.
Speaking of escaping, yeah, do you like that?
That was a good segue. Okay. Speaking of escaping.
Yeah, speaking of escaping, today we're going to be talking about lucid dreaming. Do you know what lucid dreaming is?
Are you asking the audience or me?
I'm asking you personally, because I know the answer is yes. But the audience probably doesn't.
What would you do if I said no?
Then I would explain it to you.
Well, anyway, so the
I'll
person
give you a look.
the person who plays himbos gonna do an explain.
Okay, just because my himbos are stupid doesn't mean I am.
Okay, so for those who don't know, lucid dreaming is basically a dream-like state. So don't actually confuse lucid dreaming with dreaming. It's just, I think the name's kind of a misnomer. Okay. But it is a dream-like state because your body is asleep. However, your nervous system, which is what you actually are in a meat suit, your nervous system is not asleep. So you are not dreaming. You're just dream-like because your physical corpus is asleep.
It's been explained before as like being dreaming in a way that like you are aware that you are dreaming, so you can control your dreamscape.
Okay, so I'm gonna. Okay, you guys ready?
It's been explained like that.
Are you ready for this? This is gonna. Y'all gonna think I'm crazy. You're gonna stop listening to the podcast after I say this.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Send us your hate mail. No. Okay, no. So they explain lucid dreaming as in you're asleep, but you are dreaming, but you're aware
conscious
that you're dreaming, so you can control the dream.
Sure.
Right? I think that's nonsense. That's shenanigans. You know what I think lucid dreaming really is?
Yes, please tell me.
I think that's hootenanny. Because we don't curse on this channel.
I need everyone to know. I need you to picture Curator Warp Beauty hunched over the microphone with a feral look in her eyes pointing at me.
No, because it's
hootenanny.
It's hootenanny. It's cockamamie.
Okay.
It's
okay, why?
Shenanigans.
Okay, tell me about the shenanigans.
Because I don't think that it is dreaming. It's not a dreamlike state. And I think it's only dreamlike because your literal physical body is asleep. But you are not asleep. I think that you are able to literally... and I'm going to say this, and I want you to know I understand what this sounds like, so I'm going to say it anyways.
Okay.
I think that it is a way for us and our minds, because our brains are supercomputers, and they're proving this more and more as science goes on. I think it is a way for us to basically transition dimensions. Because, like, us in our corporeal forms, in our human flesh meat suits, we exist in a 3D dimension. So we cannot interact with other dimensions as a physical flesh and blood being, because our flesh and blood beings, our meat suits, those are 3-dimensional vessels, basically. But I don't think that the nervous system and the mind is a 3-dimensional vessel. I think it is a multi-dimensional vessel that has chosen a 3-dimensional plane of existence because that is optimal for life conditions.
I know you said that you would sound crazy, but that makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, good. So you might also be crazy.
That's true.
So I think lucid dreaming is when, if you are able to successfully, and I don't know if you can lucid dream, I can.
I cannot. Working on it.
It does, it is, we'll get into that in a second, but it does require a lot of skill and practice. But when you put your 3D suit to sleep, your nervous system is a multidimensional functionary computer chip.
Sure.
So you can then tap into other dimensions.
Yeah, see, when I put my human body to sleep,
Right.
I also go to sleep.
And that's, okay, so let's talk about that. So lucid dreaming is something some people can do naturally, and not to brag, but...
Yeah, okay.
it's something that I've always been able to do since a little girl. And I enjoy doing it, so I just kind of practice. But anyone can learn to lucid dream.
Right.
So that's the benefit. This isn't some like, oh, well, you're special. No. Everyone can lucid dream. Some people are more naturally talented than others. And some people lucid dream frequently, but they don't know that it's lucid dreaming, so they do not make the connection. So they just think that they're having these really vivid TiVo-like dreams. Right? And that's how I describe it to people. I'm like, it's like having dreams that are TiVo.
Okay.
So there's a few steps to lucid dreaming. Obviously, there is actual just sleep. And dream science, everyone calls it a pseudoscience because we just simply can't measure it, which is...
Right.
Actually, we're going to get into that in a second because they've started to be able to measure it.
Right. That's why we're talking about it this week.
But there is... Okay, so you fall asleep and you're asleep and you don't remember anything.
Right.
But just because you don't remember anything doesn't mean you weren't dreaming.
Okay. Right.
So this is the baseline for people.
Okay.
Now, dreams are basically the mind's way of interpreting data.
Yes.
While your body is asleep.
Yes.
So just because you dream doesn't mean you always lucid dream. Let me be clear on this. So you can have like dreams. Like one time I had a dream back when I was in high school that my history teacher was at the top of this crystal mountain and there were singing frogs on this path up to this crystal mountain. That's a dream. That's not a lucid dream.
One time I had a dream that I was playing Scrabble with a teddy bear and lost.
See, that's a dream. Actually, that's kind of iffy. I don't know.
All right, then.
No. So that's what a dream is just your brain processing information. Right? And it's going to do so in a way that makes sense to you. Now, the interpretation, like why I was on a crystal mountain with singing frogs, makes no sense. But I know what crystal is. I know what a mountain is. I know what frogs are.
Do you know who your professor is?
My history teacher at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did know.
Okay.
So I knew who all these people were. Like, so it made sense, but at the same time, the combination of them was like, what is happening?
Right.
I guess. Okay. And typically when you're going through a period of great stress or, you have some sort of mental disorder or some sort of disease in your body or something, like something's like wrong or you're just tired or whatever, that's typically when your brain's going to start giving you like...
I have a fun fact.
Yeah.
I have a hot fun fact.
All right. Hot take. I'm ready.
If you drink a bunch of apple juice before bed or throughout the day... you will have more vivid dreams.
Okay, see, I've read that and I've tried it.
It's because of the arsenic.
I've never had that happen.
You're not a normal person, though.
Okay, that's fair. Normal people, the great normal people of this podcast, drink just a ton of apple juice before bed. Just like half a gallon of apple juice.
Just chug some apple juice, go to sleep, and record your findings and report to us.
Right, and let us know on our social media if anything cool happens.
Yeah, because there's like finite amounts of arsenic in apple juice that, the FDA approves of. And supposedly that gives you very vivid dreams.
Well, there you go.
So I have a question.
I have an answer, maybe.
I've heard lucid dreaming and astral projection used interchangeably. Is that a correct usage of those words, or is that another misconception?
Okay, this is a really weird one because they're not the same thing, but they also can very much be the same thing.
Okay.
Which is why you see them interchangeably. So, lucid dreaming is, and again, this is kind of speculation hearsay. We don't have any science to back this up.
Sure.
But if you go based off of what we do know, you can conceivably conclude that lucid dreaming is your body goes to sleep and your brain is able to perceive multiple dimensions that are happening all around us all the time.
Right.
Astral projection is a literal, like, you're forcing that computer chip to create an avatar, basically.
Okay.
An avatar that is compatible with other dimensions.
Okay.
So lucid dreaming, you could do, and you could remote view things, and you could not actually astral project. You can just download data from other dimensions that way. But astral projection, which is very common, and they're very interchangeable in terms of how they're used and why, that is basically Avatar.
Okay.
By James Cameron.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I mean, I've never been able to do either. But I've tried.
Lucid dreaming is a little bit easier, and it's kind of the first step to astral projection. Astral projection is not easy. And I really want to stress that for our listeners, because these skills, again, some people are naturally talented, but even with natural talent, you still have to practice.
Yeah, I mean, you have to practice with anything.
Right. And it becomes a muscle over time. And once your body gets used to the feeling and it gets used to doing the work and doing it, it'll slip into it easier. I will tell you, though, lucid dreaming and astral projection, you do not actually get sleep.
No, it doesn't sound restful.
If you wake up fully rested and you're like, wow, what a great 8 hours of sleep, chances are you didn't do either of those things, because astral projection and lucid dreaming, you're still awake.
Right.
Your physical body is asleep. So your physical body might feel great, but boy, oh boy, is your brain going to be like wrecked. You're going to be exhausted, bro.
Okay, do you want to get into why we're talking about lucid dreaming this week?
Yeah, so we kind of talked last week about the fact that the CIA declassified millions of documents.
They did. They opened the door and let the floodgates open.
They did. So there has been a recent study also, and this is another interesting Vice article that we came across, which is why we're like, oh, we'll do an episode on it.
Yeah, of course.
Is that
this article is titled "Scientists Achieve Real-Time Communication with Lucid Dreamers in Breakthrough."
And notice how it says international scientists have unlocked a new and exciting avenue to explore the world of dreams.
Right. Well, we've discussed that before as well, that it usually is not American scientists.
Right. So this was published, I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks ago.
It was published on February 18th, 2021.
The article was, but the actual science was published the Thursday before that.
Okay. So still this month.
Yeah, it came out maybe like a week or two ago. And it's called interactive dreaming, but in Current Biology, they posted this particular study. And basically
That's a science journal,
yes,
by the way.
Yes. Basically what they did was they had a bunch of participants that they put to sleep.
It put them down.
And then they got new participants. No. So a bunch of participants went to sleep who claimed they could lucid dream. And there were no drugs or anything. I mean, you just go to sleep. And the scientists, the researchers, wow, I almost said the studiers.
I was like,
not the right word. The word's researchers. And the researchers would go in and they would ask the participants questions when the participants had reached a REM state. Now, REM being REM, that is the deepest sleep cycle.
And that's very easily measurable. So the researchers can obviously tell quite easily when you're in your REM cycle and when you're not.
Right. And that's all sleep science we won't really get into, but just know they can measure that. So you can't fake this.
Right.
So what it came down to was they would ask simple questions like 2 + 2. Mm-hmm. And they are finding that participants who were quote-unquote lucid dreaming or interactive dreaming were able to accurately answer 2 out of 3 questions.
So I was looking into this, the way that they were able to answer, because, I mean, that was my first question as well. It's like, well, they're asleep. How are they answering questions? They would move their eyes from left to right as a way of measuring like 1 unit or whatever. So when they had to answer 2 + 2, they would move their eyes from left to right 4 times.
Right. So it came down to eye movement. And while as wild as that sounds, remember Stephen Hawking's entire voice system was powered by eye movements and like eye flutters and eyelashes. So this is not something that we have never been able to measure. Right. This isn't a breakthrough type of measurement. This is something that does exist and was used by Stephen Hawking for most of his life.
And it's honestly not that unheard of. You know, you've heard people say you blink twice for a yes or something like that.
Right.
So it's a very similar concept of move your eyes from left to right.
Right, and basically they just hook these, like, electrodes to your face.
Yeah.
You wear this stupid sleep hat with some electrodes on your face.
It's not research if you don't have electrodes on your body.
That's what I'm saying. But they were able to correctly answer over 50% of the questions that were posed to them, and that is considered a breakthrough now.
It's fascinating because if you think these people, their physical forms, you look at them and they are asleep, and yet they are able to consciously not only answer questions, but they're able to solve problems.
Right. So just to give you a better numbers breakdown
and communicate that.
Right. A better numbers breakdown. They had 36 participants.
Okay.
Across 4 different countries, like Germany, the Netherlands, US, and somewhere else. France. So 36 participants. And 18% of the trials resulted in clear and accurate communication from the dreamer. 17% produced indecipherable answers, so could be good, could be not good.
Right.
3% ended with incorrect responses, that is very low.
That's very low, yes.
And 60% didn't provoke any response at all.
But honestly, 60% not responding is way, way lower than I would expect for people that are literally asleep.
Right, and this isn't 60% of people didn't respond, this is 60% of the questions didn't get a response.
Oh.
So this is 18% of the questions got a clear answer, 17 indecipherable answer, 3 incorrect, and 60 didn't get a response.
So that's interesting if you consider the ones that didn't get a response, if it was simply worded wrong, or if it was too complex of a question, or if they simply didn't have a way to communicate their answer. There's a lot of factors to consider with that. Right. It's interesting.
So, exactly, that is interesting because, especially if you consider lucid dreaming to be your brain's or your way of basically hacking into the other dimensions. Not hacking, but communicating.
I meant.
We got him, Chief. Let's go, boys. If you consider that your communication way and communication method to understand dimensions above the 4th dimension.
Okay.
So the 4th and up dimensions, and there's a theory out there that there's 12 dimensions, but, who knows?
Who knows?
Right. We actually have no clue. But if that's how you consider lucid dreaming, then the fact that they were able to receive answers,
it's even mind-boggling.
Incorrect ones.
Yeah.
That's crazy because
it's absolutely mind-boggling.
Your brain was, their brains were downloading data from other dimensional spaces, and they were still able to tell you what 2 + 2 was.
Right. It's kind of funny when you hear people say that something is so easy they could do it in their sleep.
Right.
And now they can.
Yeah, and now we can measure it. That's the really important thing.
That is the important part, is that it goes from being this kind of fringe science, metaphysical nonsense, to actual measurable science that is being researched actively and is producing results.
Right, now we have this tangible, something that I think most of humanity has known for a long time that we can do, and we intuitively know to do it, but now we have these tangible numbers for the skeptics. But we have these tangible, quantifiable, measurable data points that say, yes, hey, these people went to sleep. This is the amount of correct answers we got, incorrect. This is how much what they didn't answer. And again, there's a lot of factors like complexity of question, because I don't think you could ask someone, like a physical 3D form, asking someone who's, surfing the multidimensional waves.
Right.
I don't think you could ask them a truly complex question.
You can't, because if you think about it, there's honestly a real limit on the questions that you can ask because their method of communication is so limited. So you can ask some simple math questions. You could ask maybe yes or no questions. But other than that, I mean, how would they communicate complex answers?
Right. And here's something that I think listeners might confuse. So some people can sleep talk. Mm-hmm. Let me clarify this now. So when I'm a researcher asking a patient questions in a study like this, patients are in, or subjects are in REM cycle. You're not talking in REM cycle.
No.
Some people have been known to, so REM cycle has like a level. There are levels of it. Right before you reach the deep state of REM cycle, people have been known to still be able to speak. But when you're deep in REM, which is when they would have been asking these questions, that's just not something people do.
Right.
So don't confuse this with things like hypnosis or when you trance or like do meditations. You are not being put into a REM cycle. You're actually being put into a completely different state of mind that is not sleep.
Right.
Which is why you can answer when you're doing meditation, when you're trance work, when you're doing hypnosis. That is not a sleep state.
Right.
So for this, they were in a true sleep state.
Right. So any answers would not be able to be communicated by mouth.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's really exciting that we're getting more research and more science-based answers in the metaphysical world.
Absolutely.
I think it's fantastic. I'm really excited for the next round of studies. I'm excited for the next subject of study.
Something else that we're... Okay, I'm gonna get a little hot take here.
Oh, boy.
So I follow brain science pretty heavily, obviously, because I'm really interested. The better our and the more sophisticated our technology becomes, the more we're able to test theories that people have been doing these things for hundreds and thousands of years.
Of course.
We're better able to get accurate results and know the mechanics and the tiny gear parts of like how it works and why it works. Something I've been following for a long time, since its conception, is I think his last name is Cavalli? I'd have to look. But there is an Italian doctor who says he can do a full head transplant.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yes, and it sounds whack. They call him whack. It sounds like wackadoodle science.
Well, sure.
And
it all does.
It could potentially be fruitless. Like, keep this in mind. But they have successfully, him and the Chinese team that he's going to be doing it with, whenever they do it, coronavirus actually put it, so they had a guy.
You've mentioned this on the podcast before.
Oh, I have?
Yeah.
See, I'm like a fish, I don't remember anything.
Yeah, you did, because you said that they've been doing it on primates.
Yes, on chimpanzees.
They have not, they've had successful surgeries, but they have not lived.
Well, they had to be euthanized, yes.
Right.
So, I'm interested to see, because as much as we hate that this is the reality of our current situation, we will not make mind-blowing, stunning breakthroughs until we have human experimentation.
Right.
And there's going to be people out there who disagree with that.
Sure, it's unethical.
It's unethical, right. And I don't think I necessarily agree with human experimentation, but there is that science part that says, well, we won't know until...
We won't know. And if you look back through history, all of our major breakthroughs have been done before there was a limit on human experimentation.
Well, right.
The same is true for psychology.
Right, but it's still, I mean, even before there were laws in place, it's always been unethical.
Oh, yeah.
It's always been unethical. So don't mistake that. Don't think I'm saying, oh, yeah, no, it's totally great. Love it. Take this soundbite, you know? But this is, I think, lucid dreaming and metaphysics are going to come from, unfortunately, you're going to come from the guys like the Italian doctor who conduct head transplants. And that's how we're going to make the next major biological and medical breakthroughs in how we are able to quantify the data and how we're able to even obtain the data and understand our nervous systems better.
Yeah.
I really think that's how it's going to come is in that form, and it's unfortunate. But also it's exciting because, you know, after the unethical part,
Then you just have raw science and data that you can work with.
Right, and it gets easier. You know, you
Yeah.
don't have to do the human experimentation, and until we can develop machines that don't require human experimentation, and until himbos don't need human experimentation,
Wow.
I mean, that's the stuff we have to keep our eye on, because that's where the big breakthroughs are going to come through from next. I mean, the ground earth-shattering breakthroughs, that's where they're going to come from, is people like that, is doctors like that, or psychologists who are pushing the limits of DMT usage, you know?
I do know, and I agree. But until that happens...
Well, it's happening.
And when it does, we'll be here to report on it.
Don't worry, we'll tell you all about it.
We will tell you all about it, because you know we're going to be doing all the studies.
Right.
We're going to be like, ooh, science. All right, yeah, well, until that happens, I am Curator Raquel.
And I'm Curator Warbeauty.
This has been Midnight Curiosities. Midnight Curiosities is hosted by One Eye Oddities, a new way to see magic. If you like what we do here, tell your friends about it. If you have science theories of your own, if you have interesting commentary, feel free to engage with us on social media. Yeah, leave a review.
Yeah, we're available
Tell your friends.
pretty much everywhere. You can find us on
Facebook, Twitter, Reddit,
TikTok, Reddit,
Instagram, everywhere.
So just look up One Eye Oddities or Midnight Curiosities.
You'll find us.
You'll find us.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
And don't forget,
Become an oddity.